So recently I've come across a group called the Living Council, which are a group of living men and women who are helping other Aussies through the secured party creditor process. And with me today, I have Talia, who's going to share what they are currently working on and what this group is about. So Talia, thank you for being here today
Thank you for having me. Such an honor to be on here.
and a pleasure for me as well. Can you just tell us a bit about yourself and what you guys are doing, a bit of the history of your group formation?
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you asked. I'm an Aussie and I'm in Queensland. I have 4 kids. We're married and just an ordinary lady from an ordinary family. Nothing special here, except that like you, like so many Aussies, I went through that 3-year amazing period we all went through, and I asked questions. So, like many other people out there, just exactly like that, looking at ways of, is this really possible? Can the government really do this? And over the last few years have just done a whole stack of research on my own, and then stumbled across this group who were founded in New Zealand, and they had actually just recently come over to Australia to provide the secured party creditor process for everyday people like me, to be able to just start to move a little bit more into the private.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. And for those who haven't heard of the secured party process, and even those who may have heard of it but not quite sure, can you kind of explain what the secured party process is and what it involves?
Yeah, good point, because I think it's kind of out there and you sort of see it all over different channels and so on. People talk about the secured party creditor process, and nobody really allows you to understand what that is. So the secured party process is actually a process of going from being dead, a debtor, to being alive. And so most people are aware that there is a straw man out there. Most people are aware that that's a debtor situation that we're in, that we're enslaved to that straw man. Most people are aware there is a process that you can go through to become a creditor, move out of the public into the private. And so the secured party process is really 3 things. The first is to firstly correct your status, and that's done by an affidavit. And that's like saying, hey, I'm alive. I've been alive since I was born, and I'm not lost at sea. It's me. I'm a living man. I'm a living woman. And ta-da. The second thing is to notify people. So we have a whole process with templates and so on, helping you to put on notice to internationally and also nationally to our Australian ministers. So we go to like 19 different ministers in Australia and a whole bunch overseas to put that in notice. It's like saying, I am alive, but it's no point in just saying you're alive if nobody knows about it. So then we send letters out. We just put people on notice, and then we go through setting up protections. So we use the PPSR, which a lot of people are aware of, UCC, we have security agreements, we do things, we post from ourselves to ourselves, we use the postal system, we help people to move into the banking world privately through unincorporated associations, unincorporated members associations. And we also are working towards things like being able to access your trust through bonds and working into the court of equity. So there's a whole series of things, but the main thing is you come alive, tell the world, and then you go about claiming and putting into action the remedies of being alive and no longer a debtor.
Okay. Thanks for breaking that down. And
Mm.
I'm sure with what you guys are doing, you'll be able to get more into depth with it all and into detail. And I'm aware that you are actually doing this for others. Can you explain how you are helping people through the secured party process?
Yeah, for sure. So there's 3 main sort of platforms that we're working with. The main thing here, I just kind of want to emphasize right at this point, is we wanted to give common people like me, like you, like all of us, common people access to the things that the elite um, usually have and we don't get access to. Things such as, how do you write a security agreement? What is the UCC? How do you set yourself aside? And we wanted to make those things accessible to everyday people, but we don't want to do it so that you don't understand what you're doing. So we needed to be able to provide templates, provide a process. You do this before that, but we don't want to do it so that you don't understand. And if ever you get in a position where you need to lean on your security agreements, so you're going into court, you need to be able to understand what it is that you're doing. So it's kind of like this coupled process of education and templates and process. All right. So we use 3 platforms. Is it all right if I share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
We use an app actually to educate people. So we use the Ed app. It's a little bit of a dicky course, but app, but the course is epic. We've broken it down into 6, but there will be 8 modules that people can undertake to learn about the secured party process. If we just go into, say, this one just here, there's one missing that should be just there. There are 6, even though it says 2. And this, I'm just showing you the back end here, Dee, of how the app works. You need to get is a birth certificate. So this is a certificate that you. There you go. You can see from the registrar. So what we have is a whole stack of videos and information down the side here. So for instance, when we say you need to prove that you're alive, you need to have birth documents. Some people will go, oh, I know what a birth certificate is, but they won't realize there's more to it, such as a live birth record. So then we'll have a little video like this. Hey guys, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the live birth record. So and we go into explaining what it is that's in a live birth record, what it is in the original registration statement. People may not understand what the differences are with these things. And then we have written links, where you get them from, what you do with them, some hints and tips with what to do when you're speaking to people trying to get your documents. And then if you move from 1 all the way through, then we educate you on how you're able to do these things. We'll move through to what documents we'll give you, like a de jure certificate, so on. So that's like an example. So you can just kind of dive into any of these things. You understand what an affidavit is. You can move through what is a memorandum of understanding. So we've got videos, we've got text, we've got step by step by step. Now that I've just shown you is one module, and that would be the Come Alive course. And that's where you're rectifying your status. How do you do that? But then once you've done that, you then move on to the next step, which is how do you notify the world? So then you go into that module and we explain and we teach things like how the postal system works. How do you send international letters? What do they look like? So you can see the templates that we've got. You can see how they are, and you're able to see all the way ahead as to what's coming, which is great because I don't know about you, but I like to know what's ahead. I like to know where I'm heading, how long something will take. So that's the course there in a nutshell. There's 6 courses. I know I'm missing number 1 just here that's in the other section. There's 6 courses. There will be 8 courses. And we have so that's one platform we operate off. The other platform we work with is Telegram. So we've got our little group here, and then there's all these different topics that we break the course down. So for instance, if you're a new person and you want to go, oh, look, I'm just coming on board, where do I go to start? Then you will go, say, birth documents. And in here, you're able to interact with other men and women, specifically talking about the course that you were doing. And you're able to say, hey, what is this? Is this my live birth record? Or what do I do when I'm trying to get a document from such and such? And we'll answer the questions as a community in here for you, specifically to the birth documents. Or if you're going into bonds, we might work on bonds or the security agreements, and we talk about the various agreements. What does open for value mean? And this is where the conversation happens. And then the last platform that we use is, I'll just stop the share there, is obviously Zoom. So twice a week, we'll get together as a community and we'll share, we'll explain things. It's your chance to ask questions. It's your chance to go through, oh, I'm up to this step. What's my next step? When is the next mail out going? And it's pretty epic, the 3 different platforms we're working with. I'm so happy with it. And the feedback's been freaking awesome. It's really, really working.
This is honestly something that I have been praying for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I've come across it, I was like, wow, this is something that I have known for a while that people have needed, but I haven't been able to do myself.
Yeah.
And to have discovered that you have been working on this very thing that simplifies everything step by step and explains what everything is in the most layman term possible, whilst having community support, I think is incredible. And
Mm.
if people still can't take the initiative to do that, then I'm sorry, there's no easier way. Like, you made it the easiest it can possibly be, in my opinion, from what I've seen out there.
Mm.
And I really appreciate what you guys have done. It's
I
incredible.
think it's probably because I'm a little slow. I need things like, can you just do one step at a time? And so maybe I was just dumbing it down for me because that's
Yeah,
what I needed. And so, yeah, it's simple because I'm simple, and it needs to be black and white. It needs to be simple. It needs to be easy, but I need to learn as well. I don't want to just go along and, do all that. So, yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people don't pursue this path, because they find it so overwhelming and hard to wrap their head around. But what
Yeah,
you
or they go like, oh, I'll do the UCC. Oh, I could do the PPSR first. Oh, I've got to redo the UCC because I forgot to put this on the listing, or my
Mm,
filing is incorrect. Yeah, I agree with you. I think but it's overwhelming. I mean, there's
mm,
no, schooling on this. You're not getting taught at school, are you?
no way.
None of us are.
So what does the Living Council mean for people who want to get out of the system?
So the system is a funny word, isn't it? Wouldn't you say the system is a funny word? Like, I think um, most of us just kind of are in this matrix where we're thinking a certain way. And the beauty of the Living Council is that you're educated to start with. So you firstly learn to, oh my gosh, I can take a pill and I can discover that there is this thing called the matrix and I can get out of it, and there is another way of operating. So that's probably the first thing, is the education and the mindset, the change of thinking. And then the other thing that the Living Council does is it provides you with a community of people who are just like you, just like me, and we're all in the boat together. And as a community, there's power in numbers, eh? And there's confidence. There's that sense of, okay, if I do this, I'm okay. Like, I'm not by myself. So it's sort of like, yeah, you go through the process for yourself, but you're not by yourself. So that's one thing. And another thing is that there's that idea of a self-paced learning. And
Mm.
so when you're busy, maybe one week you've got all this time in the world and you can just rock and roll and get through so much of your administration that you need to do to move from the public into the private. But then the next week, you don't have as much time. So by being able to access the app, you're able to move at a pace that suits you. You have that ebb and that flow. Then you also have the community being able to keep you on track so that you're not, that little drift that everybody has. I
Yeah.
know I have that. And I think the practical answers, sometimes you're like, how does this work? And why do I put a lien over that? And it's really practical, not just airy fairy floating theories or stuff that we know is true, but you just can't do anything about it.
Hmm.
I think the other thing that, yeah, no more guessing, no more trying to figure it out. You'll see this strategy on one channel, or somebody from the US has done something, and it's like, no, it's all figured out. You don't need to just throw mud on the wall and hope that it sticks. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, and you're able to move along.
Yeah, that really saves a lot of time and energy, doesn't it?
Well, who has all the time in the world to just go through every single channel, research it all?
Mm,
But if you research a little bit, I'll research a little bit, and then together we come up with a process that just is gold, isn't it?
mm. Yeah, absolutely.
What I think is important is, what does it take? The first thing is it takes a change of mindset. So if if I'm thinking one way, I'm going to have to be ready to maybe think a little bit differently. But we all already know that, don't we? When you're already aware that you're in a system and there's a straw man, you're already thinking a little bit differently. So it's just more of that. The
Mm,
other thing is it takes around 2 to 4 hours a week of investing in yourself. So you're investing in the learning, you're investing in maybe making some phone calls to get your birth documents, or maybe you've got an appointment to see the Department of Foreign Affairs as part of your process. 2 to 4 hours a week over 5 months, and you should pretty much be through the process. through the process, I mean, you've done your UCC, your PPSR, your security agreements, and starting to work on your bonds. And so 5 months, 2 to 4 hours a week is the time investment. In terms of the cost of it is, you've got external costs. So when you want to get your birth documents, you've got the cost of your birth documents. And so it might be $50 for a birth certificate. You might have to get your live birth record for $40. These little things add up. There's the printing costs, maybe getting yourself a seal, ink, all those things do add up. We've worked it out to be around, $1,200, $1,500, depends on where you are, how many documents you already have, how much your notary would be. But if you budget $1,200 to $1,500 over 5 months, that's how much it would be for external costs. The cost, if UD was to come through, facilitate just you to go through the process, it would take us about 40 hours templating backwards and forwards, working with you over 5 months. And so we have a bit of a exchange of energy, which is $20 to $30 an hour, 40 hours over 5 months, it's $1,200. So we just ask for a recompense for the time that it takes, but there's no other cost. There's no paying for templates. There's no $30,000 for this or that, or $5,000 for that. You get it all, and it's covered in that cost. But we do know that cost can be difficult for people, and we really want the common everyday person to have access to what the elite have, right? So we thought, well, what about if we do a payment plan? Some people might like to just pay it up, right? Just let me get this and get it done, right? Up front. Then there's, maybe once a month for 4 months, you pay $300 a month, or weekly, $60 a week. That's doable, right? It just depends. Everybody's financial situation is different, but it's really just those 3 things financially. But there's mental, there's thinking different, there's time, and then there's a little bit of finance there as well. Just being realistic, because that's a question that I would ask.
If in an ideal world where we didn't have to survive, these things wouldn't be required. But I'm sure you have a home and you have children, and you putting hours and hours of your time and energy into something, there needs to be an energy exchange for your sustenance. And often people get upset about these things because, oh, why are you charging for us to be free? But the thing is that we still have to survive. And if we're not putting that time and energy in survival, we might as well put it into something that's going to give back in an empowered way.
Yeah, right. Just like you do. I mean, the amount of time that you spend teaching and educating people, finding resources, that's not nothing. It's a whole lot of time, and everybody else yields the benefit from that. It's fair enough to say, hey, why don't you, I mean, people should be donating to you, man, like for the amount of things that you do. It's true. Like, we work together, we find results. Yeah, but it's not like the templates themselves are being
exactly
charged.
Yeah,
Or the course even. It's just
it's the work that you guys are doing to help people in your own spare time, and which is totally fair and understandable. And I find that people value things when they put their hard-earned money towards it as well. And that's a big factor. Like in my own practice, whenever I see friends or family and I don't charge them, they don't follow what I give them. They didn't have to pay anything for that, so they don't care. But
yeah, free advice. Not going to do that.
yeah, exactly. The ones who actually, contribute financially, they are very accountable to what I instruct them to do, and they're the ones that get the results. It's just a universal law. It's how things work,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah.
I think I agree with you. But also, if you think about it, like, eventually the remedies come through, the remedies of, what do you do with the ATO and bills of exchange and being able to access the trust? Goodness me, you'll be saving a heck of a lot more than what you spend to be able to get through the secured party process.
It's an
by
investment.
the remedies that you'll have as a result.
A lifelong investment, actually.
Yeah, and even just the empowering, like, it's just worth, in my opinion, it's just worth putting a bit of investment into yourself and your family. For me, I'm a Christian and I'm unashamed of that. And the reason that I wanted to do this was because I wanted my kids to be able to speak about their faith freely,
Mm.
to speak the name of Jesus without any equivocations. And I was just looking at the writing on the wall, Heidi, and I was like, man, it's coming to a place where you can't even mention that you're a girl. Like, what is going on? And so with all of that, I just, for me, I just was like, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to make sure that my kids are out of that space, out of that jurisdiction, and are able to stand on their own. Everyone's reason is different, but I do believe that everyone does have a reason.
Mm.
If they really think about why would you bother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So what
Mm.
would you say is the single biggest benefit for someone to be part of your group?
Probably community. I
Mm.
think community is the biggest thing that at first it's sort of like, oh, I've got a way forward, I can do self-learning and all that kind of stuff. But the more you're involved in it, the more you come to have an appreciation for what a community can do,
Mm.
and what courage and how it emboldens you. You feel like I can do this. I got a fine the other day, and I was feeling a little bit nervous about maybe writing back to the mayor and saying I'm not taking this fine. But by just having that group around me of people who are also doing the same sort of thing, I just felt this courage, this ability to go, I can do this. I can just at least try.
Mm.
They're all trying, and it's more normal. We're just normalizing things that should be normal, but unfortunately are ostracized.
So true.
Um,
And so for those who are interested, what steps do they need to take to come on board into the Living Council and work with you?
Yeah, cool. So we'll give you a form, and that's an opportunity for you just to fill in some details for us. It's not like, hey, give us your bank details. Not at all. It's more just like, hey, what's the best way to reach you? Email, text, phone. If we text you and say, when are you free to chat? Then we'll have a bit of a conversation with you, find out where you're at. Have you already gone through some of the process already? Maybe you can skip forward to something, give you a bit of information to start with. So that form is just, what's your name? When's the best way to reach you? What do you already know? Where are you at the moment? Maybe you're brand new and you just pop that down. And then someone from the team, someone from the council will reach out to you, give you a quick call, we'll have a bit of a chat and invite you into a Zoom. And so we have a Zoom coming up in a few days. And we have these from time to time where it's just an opportunity for people who have never seen the Living Council to meet some other people who are in the council, see whether there's a vibe there. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's not for you, but if it is, you get a chance to meet them. We'll link you in with the app. You can start to have a look at the material, start to get your birth documents, get the ball rolling. And then once you're set, you decide how you want to go about paying, how long you want to take, all those kind of things.
Mm.
So we'll give you the link for that, and we'll show you the form and how that all works so that everybody can do that. I think getting into the community, meeting some people, having some answers to some questions, it's worth reaching out.
Mm.
It's worth it. I really, really love the people in the group. I think they're an epic group. I will say that it's unapologetically a Christian organization. So we start with prayer, we finish with prayer, but it's not just for Christians.
Mm.
We are facilitators, and I'm not a leader. It's not like, hey, I've been doing this for 50,000 years and I know everything about law and I'm better than you. Not at all. It's just, we just happen to come across a process, the process works, and we facilitate your opportunity to do that too.
Mm.
Yeah, so kind of just putting it out there.
I love that. And I feel it's important to emphasize the importance of anyone who is going to embark on this journey and this path of sovereignty, that they're aware of that the importance of taking initiative. And yes, it's going to be hard in the beginning to pick things up, but we don't want to create more followers. We want to encourage more leaders. And so there needs to be an understanding that when you're going to take this path, it's important that you take initiative, and it's all about self-empowerment, self-growth. Yes, like there are people there to help you through the process and everyone is working together, but there's not one like primary leader who's like, this is how it's done and I know it all, so I just want to make sure that people are aware of that.
Yeah, I think that you've raised a really good point, because we're kind of indoctrinated, aren't we, to go, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, I'll just do. Whereas what we want to be about is challenge it. Don't do it, do it, like do what fits you. But start to think for yourself, start to act for yourself. Do I have to do it this way? Do I use this paper? Do I use that ink? Guys, really, like, you can do this, you can do it. And so all power to you. And if you get stuck, we're here to help you, but we will not let you stay in that kind of mindset of, you may come in and feel quite afraid. And that's a normal kind of response, to feel afraid and a bit worried. What if I do this and I get caught? What happens if I go to jail? That's a legitimate feeling that people might have, but we won't leave you there. So we'll encourage you to grow in your confidence, grow in your capacity. You'll need to explore learning how the computer works, because there's a lot of work on the computer. You'll need to know how a printer works, and no one's going to hold your hand through that process. You're going to have to kind of stand on your own 2 feet and make things work. But with the things that are foreign, that are very different, like what is an affidavit and how does that work? Ask the questions, shake the tree, get the answers, challenge it, and do your own research outside of all of this. Contribute, like maybe you'll have something to share with other people. It's just not worth bringing people from follow the government into follow the living council people, the Godhead. It's not like that at all. We just don't want to have that process. We just want a community of people going through a process that empowers them, helps them to move from the public into the private, helps them to move from being a debtor into being a creditor, understand promissory notes, understand bills of exchange, understand how the trust works. What is the Sedekay trust? How does that work? But most of all, understand that you're already sovereign. You're already sovereign. So whether you do this process or you don't, no matter what anyone says to you, you're already sovereign. We're just going through the paper process to prove what you already are, which is awesome, and it's exciting, and it's fun, and it's transformational.
Yeah, definitely a journey of discovering your power and your stand.
Right? I can do this. I can write a letter back. I can say no to you. I can say I don't contract with you.
So what's your, I guess, vision for the Living Council?
It's always good to know where someone's going with something, isn't it? So it's not my vision, but it's the vision of the group, is that we would be able to create a community of people that the powers that be, the quasi out there, takes notice and can't ignore it. And so what that means is, if I'm going to drive around with a different number plate than a normal registration, that's not going to be unusual, because there's a whole community of us doing it. And so when you're doing it and I'm doing it, it's not like, maybe the elites and the top of the ranks all know about the Sedekay trust, but when there's a whole presence of people doing this, then you got the cop at the corner who actually understands it. They see other number plates. It's no longer just one way of doing things. We're kind of introducing, there is another way of doing things. The only way to do that is if we have a lot of people doing it, doing their little bit, which is standing in their sovereignty. So our goal, it's a big, hairy, audacious kind of goal, but our first goal is 77,700 people in Australia who have gone through the entire secured party process and are standing in their sovereignty, however that looks. For some people, it might be they're no longer paying taxes, and they've got all their banking solutions sorted out. Their business is in the private, and they're just living a peaceful, quiet life. For other people, it may be a little bit more. It may be like, I'm going to really amp this thing up, going to, make sure that I'm not paying any council fees. I'm going to have my registration plates different. Doesn't matter. It's just lots and lots of people living an honorable life, doing no harm, and living in the private in a way that they have to pay attention. Then after that, what's the goal? Well, maybe you and I could work it out, Dee. We could do it together. We could go, all right, we got the 77,000, now what?
I think it just plays out itself, and we just get our power and our sovereignty back as a collective. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
77,000 is not a lot when you think about the whole of Australia, but it's enough.
mm,
It's enough. And that's what we need, just enough. And
yeah.
wouldn't it be great if we had people who started to just kind of, without being looking like a sovereign citizen or the conspiracy theorists that we're all boxed in, we're
Mm,
just ordinary people. You and me, we're just ordinary people, but there's more ordinary people who are choosing this way of life. And then wouldn't more people go, this is an interesting thing, this is actually possible, it's not a conspiracy theory thing, it's a way of life, and it's open to me. That's
definitely
inspiring, eh?
is, especially when you're leading by example and showing what you're doing rather than speaking about it. I find that to be the most powerful way to get a message across because you're living that truth. And that's when people think, how is she doing that? How is she getting away with that? What's she doing? And that's when it really captures people. So if we
That's
can get,
definitely worked when I've seen your videos, like, and the things you shake in the ground, like, you're just like, this is how it is. And when you do it, I'm like, oh, I can potentially do that too, because it's already been done. You've lifted the ceiling.
yeah,
But imagine if, like, there were lots of D's running around doing what you do, and action, isn't it?
yeah, definitely.
Take the action.
I highly encourage everyone to jump on the Zoom that you have next week. What day is that,
So
Talia?
we've got it on Wednesday, the 28th at 7 p.m. But once you just fill in that form, we can absolutely get in contact with you. Make sure you've got the link there and you can come in. It doesn't cost anything. Just come on in, meet some people, ask them questions, and rock and roll with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and answering all my curious questions.
I love it. It's awesome. Yeah, let's do this again sometime, Dee. And I really appreciate you having us on, and looking forward to more people being part of the council, more people learning how to stand in their sovereignty. Thank
Me,
you.
yeah, and thank you for what you're doing for everyone too. It's
Mm.
a lot of work, a lot of energy, and
Mm.
really needed. So I'm really honored to be the one to put that out there.
Mm. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Dee.
Thank you.